coastal. That are coming before us because they've never applied. I mean, it's never been qualified for the coastal.
My speaker is off, but there's nowhere to mute now. It just says join the computer audio.
So the other problems with this.
Yeah, that's an X speaker muted. Yeah. Come on. Oh. Okay. There we go.
They're getting desperate too.
Yeah.
We okay to start, right?
You are okay to start now.
All right, all right. I'd like to call to order the October 10th, 2023 zoning board of appeals meeting. I'd like to introduce the board. Online, we have Steve Bishkoff, who's a regular member. We have Dennis Crowe, who's a regular member. We have Bill Piggott, who's a regular member. And we have Dylan Stella, who's an alternate member. And we will seat Dylan as a regular member tonight. So you'll be voting and everything. I'd like to remind everyone, 4 votes are needed for an application to be approved. Any and all items used are exhibits and will be retained in the file. After the applicant's presentations made, the board will ask questions that we may have, and then the audience may ask questions they may have. After the discussion, we'll ask for anyone to speak in favor or against. Presenters or audience members speaking are asked to give their name and address the first time they speak, and then their name only subsequent times they speak. Once the application's been heard, we will close the public portion of the hearing and the board will go into deliberations. And at that time, only those seated can deliberate on the board, and no additional testimony to or from the audience can be permitted. And with that, I'd like to ask, Marie, are you or Aaron, sorry, going to read the appeals to be?
I can read it. Yep.
Okay, thanks. So our zoning officer, Maria Patola, will read the application.
Okay, the application this evening, 23-16109 Hartford Avenue, map 12, lot 79, residential zone 4, R4. Owner Sydney Levinson and Amy L. Cohen, trustees of the amendment and reinstatement of the CL Trust dated June 15th, 2006. Applicant Duo Dickinson Architect. Variance request to section 2.17 to allow 26 feet 1 inch to a critical coastal resource where 50 is required. Application includes a coastal site plan review.
Thank you. So,
And the legal ran in the paper on September 27th and October 5th.
You got this. That's a letter of support.
No, I did not see that.
Can I hand it out?
Yes.
thank you. So, the presenter for the application, if you'd like to begin, please.
My name is Stuart Dickinson. I'm an architect at 94 Bradley Road here in Madison, Connecticut. And I'm representing the Cohen Levinsons, and we're working on this house that has many things going on in it. But and they're all code compliant, all permitted. The one thing that came up during the many reviews we've had is that essentially because the coastal resource setback is 50 feet, comes across here. You can see that we're way up. We're really not modifying the existing building in terms of what the coastal resource cares about, but we are proposing to modify the existing deck slash, this really isn't, but a deck slash porch, which is here. So there's the actual physical first floor deck is remaining exactly as it is. We're not going to change it at all. We're just going to put a decking surface on it. Just look at a new decking surface on the existing structure. The actual little second floor deck that you see here is at present only about 5 feet deep. It's very, very shallow. And it cuts across the entire front of that's occupiable. But as you can see from the thing that I've handed out, its shallowness means that, and here it is the way it exists now, sort of up here, the section that's in that upper left-hand portion of your plan. It allows for somebody to sit here, but full penetration of the sun, and there's no screening. Now this, of course, is, not necessarily a problem, except the reason why it needs to be changed is that one of the owners doesn't have a spleen, has had cancer, cannot, it really wants to be able to be outside, but really needs to have some shading. And also needs to have screening from insects because his health condition is such that, an insect bite could kill him because he's doesn't have a spleen and he's on a bunch of different meds. And what we proposed, and by the way, formally one neighbor here to the west, this note we got today or yesterday, and informally in conversations with the owners east and west of them, which are the only ones that are impacted by this, have no issues at all with it. And I think it's a good idea. So what we're proposing is, if this is the existing, not even really, there's no screens on it, just an overhang with 2 columns that are supporting it here. What we're proposing is removing part of it, a little tiny part of it, and we're actually going to extend it out. You can see we're not extending it out a great deal. It's going to end up being basically a 12-foot porch. But what we'd like to do is over that existing deck, extend the eaves. So we've got basically 3-foot eaves that allow us to protect from solar penetration. So it's 1 story tall, and it basically is this small additional area with a modest reduction in area. And the hardship is that the owner really needs protection against the elements. And we received today, and I think Maria did too, was we received the DEP's report, and in it they accept our argument.
I saw that.
Because it's one of these things where, hardships or physical hardships typically ascribed to life safety. Life safety involves a building not affording the protections that people need, but not necessarily only subject to code compliance. So my sense is that this is 2 reasons. Number one, because of the physical needs of the owner and the minimal imposition that it affords to the coastal resource and the 0 objections to any impacted neighbor, that this is a very modest and reasonable adaptation of the requirements for coastal area resource. Otherwise, it fully complies with zoning, everything but coastal resource, we totally comply with. So in those terms, it seems to make sense to us.
Yeah, so I went out there today
Yes.
and met Amy.
Amy, yes.
Yeah. And Duo, as I understand, and what you've stated in the application, is that you're not extending the footprint of the porch at all.
Not at all. The porch is identical.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
The porch is identical. It's just that thing that's built onto the porch, which we're extending a little bit and removing a little bit.
Yeah. So really what you're doing is putting the roof, on the second floor, you're
Yes.
coming out. And I asked I asked the owner, Amy, when the house was built, so it was built in 1981, from what I understand.
That's right, isn't it, Maria, like 81, something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in that strange period where it's hard to guess.
Right. So the reason why you're coming here is because in 1981, there was no coastal resource.
It was not reviewed, that I know.
Yes.
There could have been one, but it wasn't reviewed.
So now here we are in 2023, we got the coastal resource, so that's the reason why we're here.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, and it's also because this particular person needs
Yeah.
a specific request that actually is a hardship in the terms of what the coastal area resource is meant to protect.
yeah,
So in terms of the ordinance protecting a resource, because we're on the existing deck itself, because the extension is so minimal, we think that it abides by the spirit of the coastal resource statute.
Yeah, from what you're speaking, I'm kind of a bit confused. Is there a different, a legal standard that's used to grant variances in terms of coastal resources than on regular variances, or is, what do you like mean by physical hardship?
Well, physical hardship in zoning ordinances almost exclusively pertains to building safety and code compliance. Physical hardship to me is something that does comply with all of zoning's requirements. This is completely compliant with all of zoning. The actual compliance for a physical accommodation of something that is within this review zone, this 50-foot setback review zone, which is there, can be applied to a physical hardship for the person that is going to be using it, as long as it is, to me, complies with all the other codes, and it does, complies with all the other codes.
Okay.
So if I may, hi, this is Erin. I guess to reflect on both your comments and Bill's comment, for the variance that you're seeking is section 2.17, which is the minimum setback of 50 feet for a critical coastal resource.
Correct.
That particularly does not apply to uncovered decks. And so the existing deck that is there was not subject to the 50-foot setback.
But the boundary that was put onto it was.
Well, not in 1980, because the
Not in
regulation
1980,
didn't
yes.
come into effect until 1992.
Right.
So this 50-foot setback was established in the early 90s. And there is an exemption for going up over existing, additions that do not change the building footprint. However, the uncovered deck was never, regulated for a structure. And so now building this new structure is what's triggering the need for the variance. But I guess that one of my questions, Duo, is, are you seeking an ADA?
No, because
Under
this
the ADA, a
is
reasonable accommodation, because it sounds like you're referring to that. So I'm
a
just
specific
trying to
hardship,
clarify that.
a specific hardship that's often has as a complementary characteristic of the physical hardship of the reality of, say, an elderly person coming back to live with parents, causing the need for something. So it's a need basis hardship, not a technical violation, or there's nothing in the ADA code that allows for this kind of reality, but it's a practical need of the owner, which has minimum impact.
oh, is this in the?
Right, which I think is, that's evident in the deep checklist, that you're not expanding the footprint, you're essentially replacing footings in the same location for the addition. Okay, I just wasn't clear on which way you were going. And so to answer Dylan's question, yes, it would be the same, this is a zoning regulation. And so your criteria for issuing variances would be the same as any other variance request for any other section of the zoning code. It's not specific to coastal. But I think in reviewing that, there's is also a coastal site plan application. So you should take into consideration what the on-site and adjacent coastal resources are to this property, which I think the application and the checklist should identify. They're within 25 feet, most specifically of the escarpment, which, if you've been out there, was recently reconstructed, modified with their seawall. There's also a coastal resource of flood hazard, special flood hazard area on the property. Although this particular addition is outside of the flood zone. There's also beach on the property and coastal waters, all both on-site and adjacent to the property. So those are the resources that you would consider when looking at potential impacts from this addition, if that helps your review.
I was gonna ask Mr. Higgins if you could review the coastal site plan with us.
Essentially, we are all upland of almost all the
Can we,
beaches.
I'm sorry, can we make sure that we have one of our,
Yeah, it's gonna be shared on this, it'll be shared to him on the screen, yeah.
because when you showed the other one. I
It
don't
was
think
there.
Steve saw it,
Yeah, I believe Aaron shared it,
because
so.
what I saw being shared wasn't the same as what he was showing, that's all.
I can see everything but the little model.
Okay. Is this, yeah, here we go. There.
Higher.
Trying to go higher.
There
There we are.
There you go. That's what it's the visual.
A nice model.
It's the only way I can tell what it looks like. So in terms of the coastal resource, this is a very interesting site. Most coastal sites are lower. Most coastal sites have got major features that are dealt with in terms of tidal and weather conditions. This is 23 feet, I think, above. It's a lot of feet above the beach area. And it's very stable and it's very high. And so obviously there would be things like elements of charging of water or erosion aspects, things like that. But with the deck completely under it now, and with the extremely modest impact of this extra roof area that we've got, the effects are, to me, negligible. They don't really exist.
Okay, no, I mean, could you actually review the plan you submitted? We'll just go through it quickly.
Well, I have the DEP document.
Okay. Yeah, because part of, we're supposed to review the.
It came in like
coastal
3
site
or 4 hours ago. Yeah. So essentially what I found interesting, is I got this myself at 5, is that you can see that there are, not applicable on adverse impacts. They're all not applicable.
Can you get that? Screen.
Just so we can say.
Oh, of course.
I need to print out.
Of course,
So,
of course. So all the elements that are adverse impacts on our form are checked off as they're not, no applicable adverse impacts. And there's also general conformance, which means that it generally conforms with everything. And
So but you're only sharing that. Couple people can see it. Steve can't see it, I can't see it. So,
I have it, yeah, okay.
perfect, here we are. So if you want to scroll down, I'll just see what it says.
that's better,
There you go.
that's better.
Okay, so I can see what I'm doing.
So you see it's within the existing footprint, and it's from myself, from not only a bug, but also overexposure to the sun. And you can see that there are these elements that are crossed off: coastal area resource on site, beaches, but that's downhill, bluffs and escarpments. This is on the upland side of those things. There are adjacent to the site are estuaries, but not on the site. There is coastal hazard adjacent to the site, and again, we're quite high. And then over here, if you go back to, I want to make sure I get the wording correctly. Applicable are things that relate to freshwater wetlands because they're not that far away, intertidal flats, which are not that far away, Islands, which are not that far away, rocky shorefront, which is not that far away, but you can even make there are some rocks down below, shelvers concentration areas, which are not that far away, shorelands and tidal wetlands. So we're right on the shore, which is why all those things are there, but we are high. And so the adverse impacts that they talk about degrades wetlands, it's not applicable. Degrades existing circulation patterns of coastal waters, not applicable. Increases coastal flooding hazard by altering shoreline bathymetry. Wow, okay, not applicable. Degrades natural or existing drainage patterns, not applicable. Degrades natural shoreline erosion and accretion patterns, not applicable. Degrades or destroys wildlife, fin fish or shellfish, not applicable. And degrades water quality, not applicable. And if you go back down, and I'll show you this thing over here just to make sure we have it on the record, that all of these elements that they talk about, the general development, which really includes all of this, we are good. If you go back a little bit further lower, you'll see that it says we are complying with the coastal use policies. So all of these elements of adverse impacts, they're not applicable. You can see they're all here. And if there are no issues of any other elements, and then the analysis that comes up is moreover, the applicant is seeking a variance due to the proposed structure being within coastal setback. This various request highlights the need to balance construction requirements with the environmental considerations, particularly in coastal areas. So that's because we're within the existing deck. So it's extremely low impact and it's within the existing deck. And there's a practical difficulty to me of the user's needs.
Thank you. So we have a couple weeks. First, I've got a question. I also went to the site today.
You did.
I went on bicycle,
Oh, good.
but so there's a footer embedded in the ground where the stairs used to be.
Oh, that's gone.
No, it's not.
Well, I mean, it will be gone.
Oh, okay. All right, so that'll be gone. So you're not extending out.
Oh, not at all.
Okay. Second thing I noticed was that once that would be added on, it would be the farthest protruding enclosed structure along the beach there in that area.
It may be the house to the west is pretty far out too. So
It's not enclosed,
no, but it's far out. And these are
but it's
roll
not
up.
enclosed. so-
Well, these are roll up shades. So they're only going to come down when there are bugs. So it's not going to be a permanently enclosed thing.
So it's technically not enclosed.
Well, it's got a roof over it. So what does enclosed actually mean? But the
Yeah.
bottom line is that the screens there, they really don't like the screens. They don't want the screens. And many times they don't need them because the wind is strong enough. They don't need them for the bugs. So they would rather not have them. So these will be roll up screens because they hate the screens. And if you put a prohibition in your approvals to prohibit fixed screening, it's fine by them. It's fine by them.
Okay, and the reason I asked, we've had an issue before where somebody had a variance for a screened-in porch.
Yeah.
And they subsequently added windows,
Oh,
and it, but there was nothing in the definition of screened-in, in the zoning
yeah, I
statute.
got you. Yeah.
That pertained
Yeah.
to whether, if it's enclosed, it was enclosed, whether it's screens or
Yeah.
windows.
In the building code, they don't restrict things like curtains. They do
Yeah.
restrict things like screens.
Yeah, well, that's, which is why I was asking. Okay.
Yeah. And if you want that as a restriction, I think they would say great, because they don't want the fixed screens. Because it is so tight.
Yeah.
They want to keep it as small as possible because they love their neighbors. And the neighbors on your side, they don't want to project out at all either for their neighbors. So,
Now, the roof obviously extends out farther than
yes,
the deck where it was at that point.
That is
It's not
correct.
as far as the eastern end of the deck.
that is correct. And it's only 1 foot thick. It's as thin as I can make it because it wants to visually and aesthetically be super thin. So the leading edge of that deck edge is maybe 4 inches. It goes to maybe a foot thick at the back. So it's a really simple, thin plane. There's no brackets, there's no supports. It's just a simple, thin line.
Okay.
Steve, do you have any questions?
Yeah, this is a new one. So I'm thinking, so that you talk about that balcony, was the balcony there prior and you're just adding the roof line below it, or is that a new?
It went a little bit further. Here's the old balcony. So the old,
Left, your left.
yeah, left, there you go. So the old balcony was basically was this. And we're getting rid of the angled part and we're pulling it out a little bit.
And then you're extending it to that. There's 3 steps, you're extending it right out to the steps.
Yes, we're standing out to the edge of the deck.
And I hate to ask this too, but you keep on going to the medical and things like that. Is there any paperwork that you submitted? That
Medical things?
Yeah.
No, there's nothing. It's just, it's their word. So, but I can tell you, he doesn't have, he's had medical issues. And so this is a real issue for him.
Would anyone from the audience like to ask any questions? Oh, I'm sorry. Before I do that, I'd like to just introduce Mr. Dickinson submitted as evidence a letter in favor of the variance. I'm not going to read it, but just want to know that.
And it's the owner directly to the west, the one
Okay.
that's the most impacted by this.
Has Steve seen it?
Nobody's seen it. It just got handed to us
Got handed
just
to us.
now.
Maybe
It
show
was
us.
sent, it was sent to Aaron like yesterday.
Yeah. But Steve hasn't seen it. He should have.
As long as you just tell me it's an approval, I'm okay with it.
Oh,
It's in
we're
favor,
closer,
Steve.
Favor, yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
What is this letter?
It's a letter from the neighbor in favor of granting a variance. It's just a supporting letter, basically. Would you like me to read it if nobody's seen
That's
it?
probably the easiest thing is if you just read it into the record and then anybody in attendance can hear what it is since it wasn't shared.
Sure. So, Town of Madison ZBA, as next door neighbors to Amy Cohen and Sid Livinson to the immediate west, we would like to express our support for their variance request regarding the renovation and extension to the deck of their home on Hartford Avenue. We have reviewed the plan and feel it is in keeping with the other homes along our stretch of waterfront. If you have any questions or concerns, please let us know. Very respectfully, Charles Waltz, Aaron McAvoy, thank you, 57 Stone Road, Madison, Connecticut. So are there any questions from the public, assuming the board and Aaron and Maria have asked anything they'd like to ask?
No, with a hand raised.
Okay. No hands raised?
No hands raised.
Okay, is there anybody in the public?
There's 2 people.
Oh, okay. So would anyone like to speak in favor? From the public
There's,
or against? They're just in the meeting, okay.
yes, they're just watching.
Yep. Yeah, if anybody would like to speak for or against, please raise your hand in Zoom and we'll allow you to be heard. Just in case you're not familiar with the procedures. No hands are raised.
Sitting there like this.
No hands are raised.
Any final comments, Mr. Dickinson, for us?
I think it's one of these situations which has minimum impact and complies with every other code.
Final comments from the board before we go into deliberations
Yeah, okay, so
or questions?
your application to the DEP, it was clear that there was a roof over top of this and that
There used to be, yes, there was a walkout deck, yes, and it was, they had our drawings and they saw
Or
everything.
okay,
Oh, yeah.
so they have all that.
Yeah.
Okay,
The DEP gets, whatever they submit to us, gets forwarded to DEP in total.
until,
Site plan, application,
yeah,
architectural plans, everything.
okay. Yeah, not that that's part of the question, because it's not how much footage is covered or impervious or not, but yeah, I just wanted, okay.
That's it.
I-
So I'd like to make a motion to close the public portion of the hearing and so we can go into deliberations.
Second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Any opposed? Okay. Who would like to start?
Well, I guess I'll start. I would be in favor of granting the, if you want to call it a variance. I feel as though the house is in the same footprint as in the pre-existing house, so they're not expanding the footprint at all. Plus, in the review of the coastal management report, they didn't have any issues with it, and they approved it. And I don't see any objection on my part to not approve this. If they had come before the board and extended the footprint beyond the existing footprint, well, that would be a whole nother issue. But they've all kept it within the existing footprint. And hardship wise, I don't know, you might be able to say there's an unusual or exceptional hardship here concerning the health of the owner. So again, I would be in favor of granting the variance.
So I think the question boils down, for me anyway, I'm going to disagree with you on personal hardship. According to the training, I remember John giving us that a legal hardship does not relate to personal or anything created. It's supposed to be with the land. So I would not consider the health, although I sympathize with the person. I do question whether a 50-foot coastal resource line going a third of the way through the house makes it constitute a hardship. And I mean, I think the request is reasonable, so I would probably say yes. In this case, it does with a lot of discretion. So, Dennis.
So I will say I disagree that it fits within the footprint of the house because the deck is not part of the house. Okay, it's not elevated, it's just more or less a patio. Okay, so we're putting a roof over top of half of it, and structurally that changes what it is. By virtue of the idea that we say it's not going to be fully enclosed, it's not going to include a restriction that says it's not to be enclosed, to be covered deck, but not an enclosed deck. That's different than the fully enclosed porch. And I agree with Rich on the hardship routine. I'm not sure exactly where this lands. I'd like to hear other interpretations of it if we have them, but you know, the sickness thing doesn't constitute natural hardship because there are, you know, people's conditions change. So,
Well, I guess one thing you could say in regard to the making of the roof, that is if you take the original intent of the Coastal Resource Act and the provisions, you're not actually intensifying the risk or harm that it poses to coastal resource, right? Because you're not extending it out, you're not creating a further risk. So maybe that could sway, I'm not sure. Right, because sometimes we look at the original intent of the code.
Steve, do you have any?
I have a question to Aaron. Aaron, are we allowed to give conditions that you can't enclose it with glass or permanent, what they, screens? They could only be roll down screens. Are we allowed to, is that something that we're allowed to put into the approval?
Yeah, I don't,
We can-
we're supposed to be having back and forth now. Well, we can.
Here.
Oh,
Not
okay.
with the applicant, but you can ask staff questions.
Sorry about that.
Yes. Yes, you can place conditions on the granting of a variance. I guess my only recommendation would be that they have relevance to, a reason for granting that. If it's relevant to in this particular case, the reduced setback to a critical coastal resource, what benefit do those conditions have?
None.
So I'm not, I guess find that.
Yeah.
That's really for the board to expand upon further, I guess, to see if that is an appropriate condition to put on, should you grant.
And my only other comment is if you're gonna use health as a hardship, which is what they put in in writing, that I would want some kind of verification if that is the case. But this is a tougher one. So basically, if I understand it correctly, everything from the Madison zoning, it's in compliance. It's just not in compliance with the coastal resource. Is that correct?
Yeah, it goes.
It is not in compliance with that setback. And
Correct.
my recollection of just listening to the applicant's testimony is that they're not seeking an ADA accommodation in this application, that this is a variance request for the critical coastal resource. I think there's note in the application as to the specific desires and reasons why the property owner is requesting that. But I think Mr. Dickinson has also gone through the hardship argument for you as well. It's physical or, specific to the site, not just relating to medical related request.
Any other?
I don't know, I struggle with it. The idea of extending the roof is structurally, at least it's not an enclosed building, that you're extending out.
Yeah.
It's more than a deck now. Because it has a roof, it has a smaller roof. The larger one there. Which extends, by the way, beyond the length of where that portion of the deck was. It extends beyond this portion here. Steve, I don't know if you can see that.
I can see where you are, yeah.
Okay, so there's the house, and way out here is the existing stairs. And there's an angle cut here. This extends beyond this section, but not beyond this section.
So there, I can't ask the applicant, there is a little bit of.
As far as what was there before.
Yeah, I can't.
What is your question?
I can't ask the applicant. I
What do you?
You can ask staff. Yeah, what's your question, Rich?
That's this angle.
on the, On the plan, there's a green section, a little green area that says 10 square feet covered. So it looks to me that there is a small reduction.
Well,
Let me pull up the plan here.
small reduction over here, but
Right.
dramatic increase.
Yes.
What plan are you looking at, Rich?
The plan we got.
Yeah, we weren't submitted a color rendering for this evening, so without,
Just a little bit close, I don't think you can see it, but yeah, so if you hold up maybe there.
I don't have,
Where do you see the
It's this.
is it part of this plan or no?
No, it's this, we colored it in to show it.
Oh, so
we can't keep, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I'd like to ask the board what they, I mean, we've had a lot of beach discussions. Does a it's not pre-zone, but pre-coastal. Sorry, it's coastal resource line.
Yeah,
The fact that this is drawn a third of the way through the house,
pre-existing house.
does that constitute a hardship? I think that's what it boils down to.
yeah,
If we just want to keep things simple, hardship.
yeah.
Perhaps, except that fact that it's pre-existing, it doesn't allow you to do just anything you want.
Right,
So at what point do we draw the line?
right.
And,
Right, I guess my point of view is, we are allowed some discretion. This is pretty modest and, I mean, as Bill pointed out, the footprint's not changing. It is becoming a structure because it's kind of a roof. But we're not gonna encroach. This is tricky, but.
If we were to agree to like a conditional variance, just having like the removable screens, would that be, you think that would placate your concerns a little bit?
To me, that doesn't matter. I don't know about
Yeah.
anybody.
say it again, Dylan.
If we can approve a conditional variance where it's only where it has the removable screens, right? You asked about that?
What's
What's
that
that?
roll-up screens?
Yeah, roll screens.
It still has the roof though.
I guess it's not as much of like a
Enclosure.
enclosure.
Right. So in other words, it's still open air, but happens to have screens. But it extends roof.
Yeah, I would personally, Bill, I'd like to stay away from conditionalizing unless we have a really good reason, I think.
But I think a good reason exists. If you were to pass this and say, we're not approving an enclosed building extension. That could be like, that would be almost the same as a room if it was an enclosed part of the building. It's not. It's open air. Just happens to have a roof to protect from the sun and rain, if you will. So that's why I'm not, if it were fully enclosed, I'd be opposed right off the bat.
So if we worded it says new screen porch, would that,
I think that's the wording that I would object to. It's, screen porch steps into the definition of an enclosed porch as opposed to an open air porch. Okay. If you look at the model, the windows on this portion, I'm calling them windows here because it's a little piece of plastic film. The openings extend floor to ceiling. So there's not even a wall there at the bottom, knee high or anything else. And so that's basically, I think that's an important factor to consider. The fact that it's not an enclosed building, it's simply a roof over top. And we're extending the roof from what it was.
Steve, do you have any more thoughts? Put you on the hook.
That you want to share?
Yeah, save us, Steve.
I don't know if I can save you. It's a tough one.
I just wanted to bring to your attention, this is a request for screen porch. Your zoning regulations do define what a porch is, a closed porch or an open porch. And a closed porch is a porch with screened in or glass openings. And an open porch is one that is open to the air without screened in or glassed in openings. And then
Yeah.
those are then regulated in section 2.8. So from a setback for critical coastal resource, it's the same regarding whether or not it's a closed porch or an open porch.
Wait,
Is
say that part again?
A structure is, an addition, a porch is an addition structure. It's a structure, whether it's an open or enclosed porch. And so that critical coastal resource setback applies. The only thing it doesn't apply to is an open deck. So with respect to the setback, it doesn't matter if it's enclosed with glass, enclosed with screen, it's still considered a structure and still subject to the same setback. So I don't know if that helps you in determining what, the worth of conditions in that, defining specifically what that is. But our definitions don't talk about screened in or glassed in. It's either open or closed. And closed means screens or glass.
Right, and that was the difference that I was looking for, but you're saying that would make no difference whatsoever to the,
For the setback, no, they still,
For the setback,
the vote
yeah.
applies.
so,
It's treated just as any other enclosed addition. They're subject to the same setback to the critical coastal resource. It's part of the principal dwelling. That's part of, it's a structure.
so,
We could just take a vote.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you want to do that?
good.
I don't want to cut you up if you more to say. We'll certainly
Nothing,
hear what you have to say.
nothing more intelligent than what I already said.
Okay.
So Aaron, based on what you just said, so if we approve this, they can come back later and enclose it or do whatever. We're just doing coastal resource setback, correct?
Well, this particular address, you can say that the applicant is seeking the addition of a screened porch, and that's what you're being asked to approve. So that's the request before you. So I don't know what additional, regulating
So we-
whether or not those screens roll up or don't. If it's a screen porch, it's a screen porch. If they wanted to come back and then enclose that as living space, if it's specific in your variance, then they would need to come back and return to you for that.
We could say screened
You
porch.
should be specific in your,
Do you want to put that in there?
That is the request in the variance, I believe, is specific. It's on the plan that specifically says screened in porch.
Okay, so as long as we say complies to the plan presented, we're going to get a screened porch. We're not going to get an addition. So are you good with that?
Skeptical, but yeah, I think I agree with
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Steve, any other? Okay, so I will, I'd like to put forth a motion. Everybody, a little patience here. I would like to put forth a motion to approve application 2316 109 Hartford Ave to grant variance to 2.17 and here. Yeah. Based on the hardship that we believe the coastal resource going through the middle of the house and this house pre-existing that makes it a legal hardship. I'd like to also state that the variance is based on the plans as submitted and that all construction must conform to those plans. And that we also find that the coastal site plan is consistent with the goals and policies of the Coastal Management Act. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Any abstained? Steve, I didn't see a vote, sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna abstain.
Okay, so the motion passes. It's one.
You guys are great. Thank you.
Four and one abstain.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
So we have, the minutes, I think?
So the minutes are, when we get the agenda, they're hot linked into your agenda. You can, to review them. If you didn't get to review them, we
So,
can put them over, but
so I wasn't here last week, so could one of you guys make an emotion? I'm
okay,
abstaining.
yeah, I. So, wait a minute. Yeah, we get 4 guys that were here last week,
last month.
or we only need a majority to approve minutes.
I don't know who else was, well, Dylan wasn't here for all of it, right?
Yeah, first 10 minutes I wasn't there.
How many do we need to approve minutes? 3? or
No, you
4?
need,
But what, you have 5, so is it?
I wasn't there.
But if he's going to abstain because he wasn't here,
Steve
They know
wasn't
I'm here.
there.
Steve wasn't here.
Dylan wasn't there for 10 minutes.
Majority of your, yep,
Yeah,
So maybe we do it next
you
week.
you would have to push, you only have
Next
2 of you
month.
that were here.
Yeah. So that's not gonna work
Okay, so
you could table it November.
You can table it to November.
until next month.
We'll have to table, yeah.
Motion to, any other business?
I wasn't here.
So you couldn't vote.
Motion to adjourn,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.